Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into why you should consider using Spatie's Browsershot for generating PDFs instead of older tools like DOM PDF or FPDF. Browsershot uses headless Chrome to render HTML and CSS, which means your PDFs will look just like your web pages, complete with all the complex elements like JavaScript, SVGs, and advanced CSS styles. It is super easy to use with an intuitive API that lets you customize everything from page formats to margins, headers, and backgrounds. So if you want high quality, accurate PDFs with less hassle, stick around to see how Browsershot can transform your workflow. I will now show a demo of our project. So let's open the browser and log in as a user. All right. We are now on the dashboard. So for example, let's generate a report. First, I have a preview of the report here. If you visit the URL browsershot.test/report, you'll see the preview of the PDF or the page that we will convert to a PDF file. As you can see, we have a standard header here. It includes the company name along with other details like the address and contact information. We also have some charts here. For instance, this is just an example data. And of course, the record we query will be shown here. When we scroll down, we also have subtotals, tax rates, and so on. Okay, so let's try generating a PDF based on this template. On the dashboard, we have some data here. So for example, let's query from January 1st of this year to June 22nd. When we click the Generate button, the preview I showed you earlier will be converted into a PDF document. Once we generate it, it will be saved in our storage folder. Here is our example PDF. And as you can see, it almost exactly matches our preview. It will also automatically add additional pages if necessary if your document is too long. If we zoom in on this chart, you can see that it is very sharp because it's an SVG from our template. Okay, let's start how we can do this with the help of Spatie's Browsershot package. Okay, let's start by installing Browsershot. First, go to the official website of Browsershot. Search for Spatie Browsershot on Google. And the first result should be their website. So let's visit it. The Browsershot package is used to convert a web page into an image or a PDF document. So let's go to the installation and setup page to install it. Copy the composer command and open your terminal and install it. After the installation, the Browsershot package also requires us to install an npm dependency called Puppeteer. As you can see, you can read about this requirement down here. Let's go to the section where we can find the installation command. Copy this command and go back to the terminal to install the npm package. Okay, after installing the dependencies, let's return to the dashboard. So again, our goal is to generate a PDF report based on the date range we select in our date range picker. Here in our report template, I'll refresh the page. This will be the basis of our template. This is what will be converted into a PDF document. So actually there's nothing special about this page. It's simply a standard blade template. I will show you later. First, let me give you an overview of our dashboard component. Under Pages, go to the dashboard. Okay, this is a basic dashboard. We have a date range picker here, which we use to query dates and filter the data we want to include in our report. We also have a standard table to display the data and a function to generate the report. This function takes a start and end date parameters. We have an endpoint called filter, which you can find in our routes file. This filter endpoint points to our report controller, which has a generate report function. At the top, we have our report endpoint where you can view our report template. Let's check the contents of our report controller. I've added a basic example for our query. At the bottom, we have a payload variable containing an associative array with the data we want to pass to our report template. you can see the top selling variable is assigned to the items key. Let's rename this variable to sales. Okay, so let's start generating PDF report using Browsershot. Okay, below our payload variable, let's create, for example, a template. Here, we'll pass the view or the blade template of our report. So we'll use the view function and then pass the name of our blade template, which is report. You can find it in our views folder under resources. Here's our template, report.blade.php. As you can see, this is just a regular HTML file. We have our header, a company name, and contact information. Below, we have a table where we display our data. So it's just a regular blade template. Let's go back to the report controller and let's continue. After passing the blade template, we also need to pass the payload containing the data for our report. So we'll pass it as an associative array. So let's say payload, and then pass our payload variable, which is this one. Remember, this includes the data from our query, as well as other meta information like the company name and contact details. After passing our blade template along with the payload, we also need to call the render function. So what is this render function? When I hover over my mouse cursor over it, the tooltip dialog explains that the render function is used to cast a view into a string. So as you can see here, the description of the method says get evaluated contents of the object, and it will return a string. So essentially, what the render function does is convert the contents of our report template along with the payload into a plain string data type. This string is then assigned to our template variable. After this, once our document is converted to a string, we can pass it to the Browsershot class for processing. This is how it gets converted into a PDF document. So we'll use Browsershot, and in the Browsershot class, there's an HTML method. Here we can pass our template variable, which contains the string representation of our template. To save it as a PDF document, we just need to call the save function. As an argument, we specify where we want to save it. So for example, I'll save it in our storage directory. So I'll say storage path. Then inside the app directory, in the reports folder, we'll name the PDF, for example, example.pdf. Since we need a folder inside the app directory called reports, don't forget to create this folder in our storage directory first. And of course, you can dynamically create the folder if it doesn't exist, but for this example, let's manually create it for now. So in our storage directory, inside the app folder, let's create a folder called reports. This is where our PDF documents will be saved. So let's go back to the code editor. Okay, let's try it out. Let's go back to the dashboard and specify a date range, for example, from May 1st, 2024 to June 22nd. Let's generate the report. After that, let's check our directory to see if it was saved. In the reports directory, here we can see our PDF document. Let's open it. Here's the report with the queried data. It includes the company name and other meta information that we provided. As we scroll down, we can see the data, and at the bottom, we have the dynamically computed total. However, you might notice that the background of our template is missing. The background color is not rendered, making it look quite plain compared to our original report template. When we inspect our HTML report template, you'll see it has a simple gradient background for the header and a black background for the total amount of the products. To render these background colors, if you have such layout for your document, we also need to call the show background method of Browsershot to render our background colors if we have such designs in our layout. Okay, let's try it again. We'll generate a new report. Click Generate. After that, let's check our template to see if the backgrounds are rendered. And as you can see, here is our gradient background. And the black background in our total computation is also visible. The nice thing about the Browsershot package is that it can also print images from our web pages, like our company logo. This logo is an SVG image. Now let's explore other methods we can use to further customize our PDF document. For example, setting margins, changing the page orientation to either landscape or portrait, and specifying other standard document sizes. Let's start by adding margins. We can use the margin method and specify the size of our margins. For example, 4 all around. In our tooltip, you'll see the first value is for the top, the second for the right, the third for the bottom, and the last one for the left. Okay, let's test it out. Go back to our dashboard and query again. Then check the result. Now, as you can see, there are margins on all corners of our PDF document, including the top. Aside from the margin method, we can also change the orientation of our document. For example, there's a landscape method. So let's test it. Generate. And then in our PDF document, as you can see, the orientation is now landscape. It's wider now. Okay, and then we can also specify different formats for our document. For example, the default format is set to letter size. Using the format method, we can specify a different document size. Let's try A4. Generate a PDF. As you can see, the document is now A4 size in portrait orientation. Now when I open the document inspector, as you can see, the dimensions are 8.28 by 11.71 inches. So if we go to the Browsershot documentation, you'll see the available sizes that we can assign or use for our document. Under using the predefined format, these are the values we can use. Currently, these are the sizes supported by Browsershot. The default size is letter size, as I said, but we also have a legal, tabloid, and others, like the A4 size we just used earlier. Let's try the tabloid size. I believe it's quite large, so I'll specify tabloid. Then we'll generate a new PDF. Generate. And as you can see, our paper size is now much longer. This is the tabloid size. Let's revert the paper size back to A4. In our report blade template, as previously mentioned, it's just a regular blade template with plain HTML. We assemble the data here using the payload variable that contains the data we pass to our template. For example, this includes the address and the company name. And in the table below, we plot all the items queried from our database. In my previous example, we also had a bar chart and a pie chart. I've included an example here. So in this section, it's currently commented out. Let's uncomment it. Here are our bar chart and pie chart containers. So for these charts, I am using the HiCharts JavaScript library to create professional looking charts. When we inspect the script, I've hard-coded some dummy data here. And of course, if you're using this in your own projects, you'll need to supply the necessary data here. But for now, I just hard-coded some data for this example. The Browsershot package also has the capability to generate images and embed those images in our PDF document. So it's not just limited to text and background colors. So let's test it out. We'll query again to generate a new PDF that includes our charts. And there you go. Here is an example of our chart. As you can see, the bar chart is slightly clipped, which I think is related to the margins we set earlier. So let's fix it. Let's go back to the code editor. And then in our report controller, let's remove the left and right margins. Then we'll test it again. As you can see, our bar chart is now fully visible and no longer clipped. As previously mentioned, this is just a regular HTML file, so we can apply our custom stylings. For example, let's set the pie chart to occupy only 1/3 of the page size, and the bar chart to occupy 2/3. Let's see how this looks. As you can see, our pie chart broke a bit because it's too small, occupying only 1/3 of the page. However, our bar chart looks fine, so let's revert the previous styling. Now let's try changing the background gradient of our header. Let's change it from slate to blue, for example. After generating the PDF, you can see that the header of our document is now blue. This demonstrates how easy it is to create PDF documents using Browsershot. Lastly, let's make the rows of our table striped. We'll add a class called odd to the table rows. So for every odd numbered row, we'll set the background to gray. Let's try this. And as you can see, our table now has striped rows. We achieved this by specifying utility classes from Tailwind. However, it's not limited to Tailwind. You can create your own CSS for this, or you can also use a different CSS framework if you want. It's just like the styling of any other HTML document, okay? Let's do a quick recap. First, we need the blade template. In this case, our report blade template. Then we supply it with data or anything we want to include in our document. Using the render function, we convert our entire HTML document into a string and save it in the template variable. Next, we pass our template to the HTML method of Browsershot to process it into a PDF document. Then finally, we specify where we want to save it using the save function. We can also specify other methods like format, margins, show background, and landscape, which are optional. However, if you want to fine-grain control over the document produced by Browsershot, there are many other methods you can use. So when you visit the Browsershot documentation, you can read about all the options and methods available to further customize your PDF documents. So for example, the scale method allows you to scale your document size to make it bigger or smaller. There are also options for headers and footers, backgrounds, which we used earlier, and tagging. You can also export only the pages you want. Additionally, you can also set an initial page number to start exporting from if you have multiple pages. Okay, so if you have applications that require this kind of functionality, I highly recommend using Browsershot by Spatie to create PDF documents from web pages in your application. In my opinion, it's easier to use compared to DOM PDF, which I used to use in the past. Additionally, I find Browsershot's implementation to be more modern compared to other similar services. Okay, that's it for this video, guys. As usual, I will include the source code of this project in the video description if you want to try it out yourself. Thank you for watching and see you next time.